my name is Simon and my mom has a quick announcement.
Simon, you're not just Simon, you are...
Simon the scientist?
Yes. What are we talking about today?
Well, sometimes I'm Simon the one sock Simon.
That is true. Simon likes to wear one sock all the time.
Well, not today.
Okay, so I have an announcement, so I'm going to flip the camera to me quickly. It's not often that I like to do this. Hello, everybody. But I just wanted to talk about something new this week, and that is the prizes that we have for Simon the Scientist. So our prizes are going to be put into 3 categories. Anyone who completes a challenge, you post it on the thread for that video, and you need to tell us if you are a general entry, if you are FSD, Frontier School Division entry, or if you have a connection to Manitoba Possible, who is formerly known as Society for Manitobans with Disabilities, because Manitoba Possible is making all of this happen as well, and they're a big sponsor of Simon the Scientist, a big partner. So today we have a couple of exciting new things, and I'm gonna turn this all back to Simon.
Today we are talking about parasites.
Parasites? And who do we have with us today?
Dr. O.
Hi.
Hi, Dr. Olwyn. Dr. O, can you give us an introduction to who you are?
Sure. So my name is Dr. O. I'm what's called a postdoctoral researcher. That means I've done a lot of research. I got my doctorate degree and I continue to research at the University of Manitoba. And I do research on how parasites, so things that live on or inside other things, impact communities, are spread across the north, and how they all interact with each other.
Very cool. So Simon's been into northern Manitoba as well. How far north have you been, Dr. O?
So far, I've only been as north as Churchill, Manitoba. This summer, I was supposed to go up to Nunavut, as well as a few other places, but because of the pandemic, we're making sure to keep the north nice and safe. So hopefully, if things pan out, I'll be able to go up further north next summer and complete some of my research.
That's pretty exciting. Simon, how far north have you been?
Just to Churchill.
Yeah, you got to Churchill this fall as well. So we already have some friends watching. We have Elisa and Lucy and Edward, Parker saying hi, Connor and Logan and Iris. We have Joseph is watching from Churchill that we were just talking about. We have friends in Cranberry Portage. That's that's pretty far north as well. And we even have our next door neighbor Jody watching. Pretty exciting. So this is our first time having a special guest. Simon, I need you to move over just a little bit closer to Dr. O.
Okay.
So that I can show you both in the camera. So this is our first time having a special guest. We weren't too sure how this would go, but I think we've got it figured out, and it's working pretty well so far. Before we get started, Simon, something gross happened here in our house on Monday. Would you like to tell what happened?
I really don't want to, but I have to.
Yeah, nice and loud.
My dog pooped out tapeworms. Tapeworms are roundworms.
And what did it look like? Like, what happened?
Well, at first my mom thought that our dog ate some string or tissue paper, but then she looked up close and saw, like, those things that separate each part of the body.
The segments. Yep.
And then she totally freaked out.
It was so gross. And
It looked like her dog. It was like her dog was a meat grinder spitting out spaghetti instead of meat.
oh, so gross. And just a side note, how old is our dog?
10 weeks.
Yeah, he hasn't had his shots yet, so how are we solving that problem?
What?
How are we solving that problem to make him healthy?
I forget.
Well, where's he going on Friday?
What?
Yeah, he'll have his first vet visit on Friday, and that's in perfect time. We also have Cameron and Caden in Swan River. That's quite amazing as well.
Wow, do you guys see swans a lot?
Maybe they see swans on the river.
Okay.
All right, Simon, do you want to start with one of your awesome jokes today?
What do you call a parasite parasite on the moon?
Let's see if Olwen knows. Olwen, did you hear the joke? Did you hear the question?
Yeah, I did. That's a good question. I don't know. What is it called?
A lunatic.
That's great.
Very nice. That's a good one. Okay, so Simon, you came up with some drawings. You were asked to draw 3 of your favorite parasites. Can you show those off for us?
Here's one. Take one.
Okay, I'm going to get up nice and close to this. Can you describe your drawing? Actually, let's put it on the table. Can you point to what the parts of your drawing are?
This is a tapeworm, and tapeworms live in the stomach, and that's the intestine.
Oh, yes. Let's show Dr. O.
I'll need the camera back on for a second there.
Oh, actually, then we're not going to show you. Sorry, Dr. O. We're going to show you afterwards. But Simon did an awesome drawing of a tapeworm sitting in a stomach with stomach acid all around it.
Very interesting. Cool.
Okay. And tell us about this one, Simon.
It's a roundworm that lives in your intestine.
So show us, what are the different parts? What's this up here?
The stomach.
Okay. And what are these little pieces?
The food.
Okay. And explain what happens.
So the acid breaks them down into little bits, which then go into the intestine. But then instead of going back down here, the tapeworm eats them up. I mean roundworm.
Yeah. Very cool. And you have one more drawing of a parasite.
A leech, but those are just the veins of the human.
Okay.
The
So you have a leech, and is this an arm?
Yeah.
And you have an arm, and the veins inside the arm, and what's the leech doing?
Sucking up some of the blood.
Interesting. So we have a comment saying, hope your dog is okay. We have another comment saying, great job on the drawings. That's pretty awesome. Okay, so now we're back to Dr. O. Dr. O, we have a lot of questions, and we're also going to ask everyone participating if they have questions about parasites. Now is the time to ask, so we can ask Dr. O all of your questions. Simon has a few questions to start with.
How do people catch parasites?
Well, there's a bunch of different ways. So it depends how the parasite moves, or we call
Leeches
it.
are easy, jumping into a swamp.
Okay.
So things like tapeworms, we get them for eating things that we're not supposed to. So your dog got the tapeworms by eating a piece of what we call an intermediate host or a middle host, so something like a mouse or a rat or a rabbit, something like that.
It makes so much sense because before we got him, he was raised as an outside dog.
Exactly. So a lot of those different individuals, the parasite itself uses multiple different animals to complete its life cycle and does different things in each animal. Sometimes we can get parasites, what we call directly. So if we have some things that's contaminated, some food products, so when we think of sometimes nematodes or roundworms can be transmitted by accidentally eating an infective stage. Let's say if something got poop on it, the parasite stuck on the item, didn't get washed properly, that's how we can transmit other direct forms of parasites. So there's a couple different ways. We also have parasites that can move through the water column and actually bore themselves into their host.
There's this one parasite that I know of. So they're born in these string-like eggs, and then they make it into, I forget what type of bug that also lives in the river. Then that bug gets eaten by a cricket. Then it grows into the cricket, then goes back into the water again.
Yeah. So I think you're talking about something called a nematomorph or a hairworm. And
Yeah,
so
it's a hairworm. It's a hairworm.
Yeah. And they're kind of interesting because what they do is they actually manipulate or change the mind of the cricket when they're ready to mature and leave the cricket and then reproduce. And what happens is they change the mind of the cricket and force the cricket to find some water that would be suitable for them. And the cricket will jump in and the hairworm will eject itself out into the water.
Yuck.
Yeah. And often it's either die or be eaten by something else.
And I forgot to say something. Happy birthday.
Happy Earth Day.
All right, so what do parasites have to do with Earth Day?
Well, here's something I know for sure about parasites.
Yeah.
They're one of the most successful life forms on Earth.
Absolutely. They've done really well for themselves. And we think that about 40 to 50% of all animals or organisms on the Earth might be parasites. So we're talking about we think there might be 6 to 7 million different kinds of parasites, or animals that use, or organisms that use this parasitic life history.
That's amazing.
Here's a really hard to answer question.
Okay.
How do parasites or viruses or funguses take over minds?
Over the minds?
Yeah.
That's a really great question, Simon. And the answer is we really don't know. We're trying to figure that out. There is a lot of different ideas of how this might happen. Sometimes we think that it might be just the parasite is causing a host to use a lot of its own resources, right? We talk about the parasite reducing how much what it lives in has, and so that changes the behavior of the host. The host needs to go and get more food. We think that it might be possible that parasites actually excrete different chemicals into their host, and by doing that, they might change their behavior. We also think sometimes it might be an accident. So the parasite itself injures the host in some way, and so that changes its behavior. And it's a very good question that a lot of people are working on.
And here's another joke.
Okay.
A parasite tried to come over, but I said no way. So the parasite said I wasn't a good host.
I like that. That's good.
Okay, we have some comments here from everyone who's watching. Parker once had a leech on his leg. And Joseph says that a leech sucks the bad blood. What do you know about that?
Well, maybe it sucks the infected blood, because there are different types of blood.
There are different types of blood. And leeches are also used in medical treatments sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Way back then, they used leeches to help get out infected things.
Okay, Olwen, what do you know about that?
Well, so leeches are often used because we know that when a leech attaches to you, it doesn't want your blood to clot, right? It wants to be able to consistently feed. And so humans have taken advantage of that. And so if somebody has, let's say they have an amputation or some sort of system where you don't have blood flowing correctly, or you have a lot of blood clotting, so your body's not getting all the blood it needs in certain areas, you can put leeches and they'll inject this chemical that they make. It's an anticoagulant. That means it prevents this clotting and actually improves circulation. And they do it in a very painless way, right? Because often we don't even feel the leeches we have. We see them first.
Interesting. So we have a comment from Rosanna up in Cranberry saying powerful parasites. Joseph in Churchill also wants to say hi right to Dr. O. Cheryl is saying happy Earth Day, Simon.
Thank you.
And Joseph also commented that worms really help the world. We have comments about how interesting parasites are and how they affect behavior. Connor caught a leech at Bird's Hill before.
Ooh,
Yeah.
cool.
And I think Joseph has a joke.
All right.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Okay, Joseph, you're going to have to tell us the rest of the joke because we don't have it yet, so we're going to wait on that. Connor wanted to use the leech that he found as bait for fishing.
Yeah.
And we have a question from Swan. We have a question. Do leeches have babies?
Because, it's basically just a black thing that sucks up blood.
Yes, so leeches will reproduce and have a baby form or an infant.
But how?
But how? That's a really good question.
Because, it's basically just a black line. Like a black line that sucks blood from everything it attaches to.
Yeah.
So leeches are hermaphrodites. So that means that there's not necessarily a female role or a male role, but they do need to have two individuals to reproduce. And then the leech mother, who acts as the mother, forms a cocoon and around their eggs. So sort of on the outside of their body, and they attach those eggs, and they'll be released when they hatch.
Cool. All right, what's your next question for Dr. O?
Are there any good parasites, like parasites that can help you other than leeches?
That's a really great question. So parasites, the definition of what a parasite is suggests that it has a negative or bad effect on its host. However, when we think about parasites in communities, and when I say communities, I mean different animals interacting with their environment, or if we think of them in ecosystems, they serve a lot of different roles. So we know that parasites impact things like competition, so differences, two different animals or species competing in an environment for different things like resources like food and space. We know that they affect interaction, sort of predation. So when we're talking about one animal eating another, we know that parasites can affect these things. We know that they have different interactions in terms of nutrient cycling, so how an ecosystem works. And so parasites are extremely important for how ecosystems function, how food webs work, how individuals interact. They might actually even allow certain animals to be in areas that they wouldn't be without the parasites.
Interesting.
So, in that way, I would say parasites are extremely important and beneficial for the world.
We have a question from the Wilson family here in Winnipeg. Would maggots be considered a parasite?
What are maggots?
Well, yeah, that's another question. What are maggots in the first place?
So maggots are just larval forms of different insects, generally, is what we're using is the term maggot.
Here's a packet.
Oh, just wait.
Some people might consider them parasites, although often they're just feeding upon dead tissue themselves. We do have something called a parasitoid, which sometimes we'll think of wasps being parasitoid on things like caterpillars. And so what they'll do is they'll inject their eggs into a caterpillar, and you'll have these larval forms of the wasp that almost kind of look what we would call maggots that will kind of eat the caterpillar when they hatch. So it depends what you mean by a maggot. Some people would consider them parasites, but often they're very transitory. And often maggots, interestingly, are used in medical science because we know a lot of them only eat dead tissue. So when somebody has an infection or an area that won't close, they can often use these maggots to clean up that area safely because they know the maggots won't actually eat a live tissue.
So it is possible, depending on your illness or situation, that you could walk into a hospital room and someone will have maggots and leeches on them?
Sometimes. This is a rare thing.
It kind of seems gross.
Yeah, a lot of people find it very gross, and we often use them in emergency situations. But when I was down in Minnesota at the Mayo Clinic, they actually showed me the leeches they have on site that are used for medicinal purposes.
Wow. Simon, you were talking about you had a fact to share?
Did you know that mosquitoes are a type of parasite?
Yeah, I did. And they're an extremely important vector. We call them the vector because they also transmit parasites. So when we think of things like malaria, which is one of the most prevalent parasites we see and most dangerous parasites that we see around the world, especially in warmer tropical areas.
Okay.
I'm going to do this.
Okay.
I used to hate parasites. Well, they started to grow on me.
That's good.
All right. Simon, do you have another question?
What is your favorite parasite? Yes. Bad or good and why? Die.
So my favorite parasite in terms of looking at it is something called Gerardia, and for most people know of it as beaver fever. So it's something that lives in the intestine. It's called a protozoan, so it's very, very small. I like it because it kind of looks like an owl, which is one of my favorite regular animals. I'm trying to think. I have a lot of favorite different types of parasites.
Can you stand up?
I work with a group that are called flatworms. And so if you type in trematodes, they are some of the most violent and some of the most beautiful parasites in the world.
Wait, what do flatworms look like?
Pardon?
What do flatworms look like?
So if you can kind of imagine what a leech looks like, but really small, and you can often see their internal
So did you know that Parker also thought of some leech jokes,
What?
but they all sucked? Do you get it?
Yeah.
Did you hear Dr. O?
I did. I missed the beginning of that.
Parker thought of some leech jokes, but they all sucked.
I like it.
Yeah, good one. So folks, we just have a few minutes left. So if you have some more questions for Dr. O, now is the time to get them in. Simon, you do have a couple more questions yourself though.
What is the grossest parasite to you?
That's a very good question and a very hard question for me. What I find gross is very different than most people. What I have built up a tolerance to what most people find gross fairly often. The grossest thing to me is actually not a parasite. There is a frog that has eggs that are laid on its back, and then they hatch and leave all these little holes. And that to me is one of the more disgusting things I've ever seen.
Like they leave holes in the mum frog?
On the back of the male father frog, where they've lived, it becomes all bumpy and they hatch. For some reason.
Yeah.
What's the grossest parasite?
Or maybe what most people think is the grossest parasite.
Well, one of the grossest parasites I think of, there is what we call an ectoparasite, so a parasite that lives usually on the outside of the body, but in some fishes, there's an ectoparasite that actually eats and replaces the tongue of their host.
I know that one. I know.
Yeah.
So it swims into one of their gills, then it slowly eats the fish's tongue, then where the tongue was, the parasite lives.
Yeah, a lot of ectoparasites live in the gills of fish, but this one specifically replaces its tongue instead.
That's disgusting.
Isn't that so disgusting? It's not that dangerous either.
No, it seems to work, right?
Yeah. And
It just makes you lose your appetite for some food.
Yeah. So Simon, here's one more question that we didn't ask
But
yet.
I think they don't go for humans. But we can eat the fish that had the parasite.
And we often do eat fish with parasites. That's pretty common. We just don't know about it.
But it's probably not dangerous.
Yeah, most of the time that the fish we eat have parasites. They only can go to other fish or other animals, not humans.
Humans are technically animals, though.
That is true. Humans are technically animals.
They are.
Okay, Simon, you have one more question here.
What does the word parasite mean?
So the word parasite means an organism that uses another organism to live for part or some of its life, for all of it or some of its life cycle, and has a negative effect on that individual host. So we think of it it's not like a predator that eats the whole thing, it just eats some of the thing.
Okay.
But it might have a negative effect. That might reduce lifespan of the host, it might reduce how easy it is to reproduce or how much it reproduces, things like that.
Sorry, I had to get Simon to hold the phone there for a second.
Wait, why?
Because Ella needed some help. All right, so I don't see any more questions coming in just yet. Simon, would you like to tell... oh, wait, we do have a question from Joseph in Churchill, and he asks, is it deadly? But Joseph, I'm not sure which one you're talking about. I think he's talking about the tongue parasite.
It's not that deadly. It's not deadly at all. It just makes you lose some of your favorite foods. As in, not like them anymore.
The ones that we know about, I haven't heard it. Exactly like Simon says, I haven't heard about any yet.
Okay.
That parasite is kind of weird. They can live on your tongue. Wait, does the tongue have the nutrients they need? Or is it just the best place that they choose to live?
That's a really great question, and I actually don't know the answer. I'm going to have to look that one up.
Oh, okay. Do it.
So, Simon, can you tell everyone what our challenge is today?
Draw some of your favorite or most grossest or not even liking it a bit parasites and send the photo or video. And bye.
Yeah. So, Dr. O, our challenge today for everyone out there is to draw your favorite or most gross or most interesting parasite.
Okay, I'm going around the table.
And they can post it onto the comments in this video, and then they'll be entered for the new prizes that we have sent out every week. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
And you had a suggestion when they look up parasites to draw.
Yeah, so as many people might know, Parasite was a movie that actually won the Oscar this year out of South Korea. I've heard as an adult, it's a great adult movie. However, that means that when you type in Parasite into Google, often you just get memes or information about that specific movie. So I would suggest you do a little bit of research on different groups of parasites, so things like flatworms, tapeworms, protozoans, so little tiny animals, and then look at those, search those groups specifically in Google, and you'll have better results.
Okay, that's great advice. So we want to see all of those parasite drawings, and we also want to see everybody finishing their challenge from Monday, and you will also get entered into the draw for this week. Once again, just a reminder that you can enter as Frontier School Division student, you can enter as somebody connected with Manitoba Possible, or you can enter a general entry. No matter where you are, you can enter as well, and we're going to be sending out those prizes this weekend. You'll have until, I would say, the end of day Friday to finish everything up for your challenges. Well, Simon, what do you have to say to Dr. O?
Thank you and bye.
Thank you very much. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you, Dr. O, for all of your amazing information. And also thank you, Simon, for not being too grossed out by parasites.
My mom almost barfed by getting all the tapeworms or roundworms out of my dog's butt.
Yeah, it was pretty gross. Number 1 on my list of gross. All right.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next time.